if he wants to direct a Transformers spin-off film, see you in a couple of years. He's going to be directing it. What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Road to TF5. This is Webster's. We're talking about Transformers last night. This is episode number 149, and before I begin this episode, I would like to say happy birthday to Joel Daniel. Happy birthday to you. Hope you have a good one. Thank you for being part of the Ragin Nation. Now, before I begin talking about what I'm here to talk about, I would like to just follow up on something that I discussed in episode number 147. In that episode, I talked about this viral marketing video titled Microfiche, and at the end of that video, it showed the image of this mysterious Transformers character which appeared to transform into some kind of warplane. And I asked you guys, who do you think that could be? And you guys came up with a lot of theories. You said it could be this character or this character or that character, but there was one answer that really caught my attention, and it was a tweet from Eradicator YT, and I'm gonna read you that tweet. I just saw these similarities. Do you think it could be Topspin from TF3 without the funky hair? And then he put the image of Topspin right next to the image of Mystery Character, and he circled a bunch of similarities, such as the shoulders. And yes, I can see the similarities there, but most notably, the chest. If you put the chest of Topspin right next to the chest of Mystery Character, they're identical. They're 100% identical, and that is just something that blows my mind. So is that Topspin? Could it be Topspin? Maybe, but for me personally, I believe that it is not Topspin. Sure, the similarities are there, but I don't think it could possibly or physically be Topspin just because of an intense amount of mass shifting. And we all know that Topspin is a vehicle, and well, this plane is like a giant sized warplane. There's going to be a huge amount of mass shifting, which is not something that hasn't been done in the Transformers live action universe, but it's just so much to the point where I just think that it wouldn't happen. Now, that would make you wonder, well, why on earth would they have the same chest type? Why would they have the exact 100% identical chest type? Well, we got to look behind the scenes, and that is, from behind the scenes, we all know that in the Transformers live action films, they have recycled designs, and we've seen this many times, and this is clear evidence of that. And what I personally believe is that ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, the visual effects company, the animation company rather, that designs all the effects, or rather creates all the visual effects and CG for the Transformers films, along with a lot of other films, they have an archive of robot design concepts that have been designed by the talented concept designers that have been hired for the Transformers live action films. And a lot of these robot designs have not been used. They're just like a huge archive or library of them, and these are designs that just were never used, but they're kept in archives because maybe later they'll want to revisit them, which is something that has been done many times. So what they've done here is what I believe is them taking an existing design and just tweaking it up a bit and then making a brand new character out of it. So in this case, taking Topspin's some of Topspin's parts, or rather taking Topspin's skeleton and just adding things to it, changing the head shape, and then selling it off as a larger character. That's what I believe is going on here. And it doesn't mean that it's Topspin. I mean, it could be Topspin, but I don't believe it. I just think that it's just recycling a design and changing it up just because they have a lot of designs to work off of, and it is still a pretty cool design. They just like made it a lot bigger. So if you don't have a good eye and you don't remember the exact design of Topspin, you're not going to pick up on that. So for the average moviegoer, they're not going to pick up on that. For the hardcore die-hard fans that really pay attention to detail, like yourself, you'll pick up on it. So good eye, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I really appreciate it, and that is really cool. Like, I was like, whoa, that is awesome. Anyways, moving on, let's take a look at a couple of new CG renders. These were shared from the Chinese social media platform Weibo.com, and what we see here is a couple of new CG renders of Hot Rod. And we've only seen Hot Rod, I believe, from one CG render, and that's the official one. And here he is again, and he looks so cool. Like, the more I see these images of Hot Rod, the more I'm beginning to like him. Here he is in fighting stance, here he is standing cool, and another image of him pouncing. So I'm really, really excited to see more of him, and I'm looking forward to more CG renders. The next CG render I want to show you guys is of Optimus Prime lunging at Megatron, and they both have their hand-to-hand weapons ready, and it just suggests that they're gonna fight, and I hope they do fight. After all, Optimus Prime's got a sword, Megatron's got an axe, and this is just like this is a total I guess an homage to G1 when they fought with their hand-to-hand weapons. So I would love to see that happen, because you know, we have seen them with hand-to-hand weapons, but when they fought, it was more just like brawling. You know what I'm saying? It was just like them going at each other, but I would love to see like clang, 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 clang. You know what I'm saying? That would be really, really cool. I mean, you cannot have this image and not show them fight with hand-to-hand weapons. That would be a crime. Anyways, moving on. We're going to talk about what I'm really here to talk about, and that is 14 more Transformers films. I'm talking about a combination of the main story as well as spin-offs, a total of 14 more films. And is that really happening? When I first read this, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. How is that possible? Well, we're gonna talk about that right now. Now, when I first heard about 14 films, I heard about it on the behind-the-scenes portion of the IMAX exclusive first look presentation. It was a video of Michael Bay where he was talking to the audience, and he said that we got 14 talented writers and we came up with 14 stories. And that's all he said. And when he said that, I didn't really think anything of it. I knew that they had 14 writers. I didn't know that they came up with 14 stories. That's a lot of stories, but after he mentioned that, I didn't think too much about it. I just thought that, you know, perhaps they just wrote like a sentence for each story, or like a short paragraph, but they didn't write full-on scripts for 14 stories. You know what I'm saying? That couldn't be possibly possible. Anyways, I'm gonna read you this headline that just kind of in a way blew it out of proportion. This is the first website that did it, and that is from MovieWeb. Michael Bay reveals plans for 14 more Transformers movies. And this is the article that started it all. And then it was followed by more articles. Here's one from Business Insider. Michael Bay says there are 14 future Transformers movies already written. Does he really have 14 more Transformers movies already written? Who wrote these stories? Seriously. And here, check this out. This is from Movie Pilot. Michael Bay reveals that Paramount are floating about 14 potential Transformers movie ideas. Okay, that's more like it. You see how the information is getting skewed through headlines? Because when you have, like, in the same sentence, words like Michael Bay, you have Michael Bay's name. You also have the number 14, and you have the word Transformers, and then the word movies. So you have Michael Bay, 14 Transformers movies. You automatically are like, wow, are you serious? Like, you put that all together and you're like, there are 14 more Transformers films coming from Michael Bay? And that's where I'm gonna have to disagree with it. Let's take a look at a couple more headlines. This is from Joe Blow. 14 more Transformers movies are in development. And then Den of Geek reports Transformers stories for 14 more films written. So they're suggesting that they're already written. Comic book movies and comingsoon.net, as well as Yahoo Movies and Comic Book Resources, all mention the same headline, and that is 14 more Transformers stories in development, confirms Michael Bay. So there are 14 stories, not 14 films. I'm here to clear everything up, okay? Because this has been blown out of proportion with headlines. and all it started was from MovieWeb, and they said that there are 14 more films coming from Michael Bay, and that is not true. What is true is that there were 14 writers that were put in the writer's room. They came up with 14 different stories, and that's it. They haven't all been written. They don't have scripts for every single one of these 14 stories. Just because they have 14 stories, it doesn't mean that they're going to make 14 films. Maybe only 6 out of these 14 stories are actually going to get made. I'm just throwing out the possibility. Nothing is definitive. Nothing is actually confirmed except for the fact that they have 14 outlines out there, like story ideas, and that's a fact, because there are no writers for all 14 of these stories. Sure, there are writers that have written scripts for some of these stories, but there aren't writers, like every single one of those writers from the writer's room aren't currently working on those scripts. There's just no announcement of that. So this is how things get blown way out of proportion through headlines. And I just want to clear that up for you guys. And here's how we're gonna clear it up right now. Okay, so 14 writers right here. We know that Art Markham, Matt Holloway, Ken Nolan have worked on Transformers Last Night. That's already done. Christina Hodson also wrote the Bumblebee spinoff, and that was announced back in November 2011. That's already been written. Now we're getting into pre-production and getting ready to film, okay? Now we also know that Andrew Barrer and Gabriel Ferrari, who wrote Ant-Man, are writing the Cybertron animated prequel, which most likely will be the film that's coming in 2019. Now, we've already eliminated 6 out of those writers, out of the total writers. Now we have Robert Kirkman, Zach Penn, Jeff Pinkner, Lindsay Beer, Geneva Robertson-Dworet, and Stephen DeKnight. Are they currently working on Transformers scripts right now? The answer is no, they're not. If you go on their IMDb, it really doesn't show that they're writing any Transformers film right now. First of all, Robert Kirkman is not even involved in the Transformers writers room at all anymore. The Transformers writers room is done. That little meeting that took over a month is done. But he was only there for one day. He wasn't there to actually contribute anything. I mean, sure, he contributed a couple of ideas, but after one day he was gone and he was done with it, and there was no more to be added from his part. Right now he's doing his own thing. As for Zach Penn, he's the last thing he worked on was Ready Player One. As for Jeff Pinkner, he's working on Venom, the solo spin-off film for the Spider-Man solo spin-off film for Sony Pictures. As for Lindsay Beer, she could be working on as many as 3 different films, such as Barbie, the Godzilla vs. King Kong, and Dungeons and Dragons. But nowhere in her credits is Transformers. And as for Geneva Robertson-Dworet, she could be working on one of many films, which is Tomb Raider, Dungeons and Dragons, the Hasbro Cinematic Universe, Writer's Room, and Sherlock Holmes 3. Once again, Transformers is not in there. As for Stephen DeKnight, he's directing Pacific Rim Uprising. So, no, these films are not currently being written. They're currently being in development, which is a very, very it's a very broad term. It could mean anything. As far as I believe, they only have story ideas, and that's really it. It doesn't mean that they have 14 complete scripts written by these writers here. How could, let's see, how many writers is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's only 5 writers. Okay, that's 5 writers. After all, these other writers that I've mentioned earlier, they've already worked on they're already working on these other films. So 5 writers and 14 films? I don't think so. So I'm just here to clear that up. That is not actually happening the way you think it's happening. Sure, they got 14 stories, but only maybe 6 out of those stories are actually going to get made into films. And if they're going to make all 14 of them, then it's going to happen a lot a lot later if they're planning on sticking with their plan of putting one Transformers film per year. Because if you didn't already know, or if you don't remember, it was announced 2 years ago that they said they wrote enough Transformers films for the next 10 years. Now, that was 2 years ago in 2015. So it's 2017 now. There's 8 more years to when that 10 years is complete. So up to 2025. And beyond that, it all depends on the success of these films that they would have already worked on by then. Now, this is, of course, these films are still happening, of course, like eventually at some point in time, but Michael Bay is obviously going to have his fingerprints on these films. Even if he's not actually directing them, he will be serving as a producer. After all, the Transformers Cinematic Universe will be his baby, so he will still be serving as a producer. But will he really be back to direct one of these films? I'm positive he will be back. I am absolutely positive that Michael Bay will be back, because at an interview with MTV, he mentioned that there's some good stuff. I would like to do one of them though. So he's referring to those 14 stories. There is some good stuff in those 14 stories, but he would like to do one of those 14 stories, which means he would like to direct one of those spin-offs. And if he wants something, he's gonna get it. When's the last time you heard Michael Bay saying that he couldn't get something that he wanted? He can get it. If he wants to direct a Transformers spin-off film, see you in a couple of years. He's gonna be directing it. So that is what is happening right now. So I just didn't want to get everybody excited about the whole 14 films thing, because there are 14 stories, but they don't have directors for any of these films except for the Bumblebee spinoff. And as for the rest of them, they still need to find out who is writing what, which has not been announced. So that's all we know so far. Anyways, let's move on. And I would like to give a big shout out to Julian Sussurette Jones, because he shared with me this image right here, and it's a really, really cool concept of Cogman. When I first looked at it, I didn't even know if it was from Transformers Last Night, just because like an image being shared around social media on Transformers websites doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be from Transformers. I needed a confirmation to find out who this is actually, or where this is actually from. And this doesn't look like a Transformers of any kind, but then later on I realized that this is Cogman, so it is. And then I'd like to give a big shout out to Gabriel Cantu, because she shared with me another piece of concept art which involves Cogman again, but it shows it appears that he's in either a different part of Cybertron, or in a different cybernetic, like a planet altogether. So maybe it's the planet of the Headmasters, and I was really curious to find out where is this actually from. So I tweeted that out, and thanks to Sam Effect, he mentioned that he says he's not sure if it's made for the actual movie, but if you look in the Gumroad of the person that made it, it's Emmy award-winning art director and designer in the film industry, Messing Art, Stephen Messing. And his projects include Avatar, Transformers, and Prometheus, along with a lot of other films. So I checked out his Instagram account, Messing Art, Stephen Messing, and wow, there's a lot of really, really cool concept art here. So why don't you guys check that out? This is the origins of the concept art for Cogman and his homeworld. That might be like a Headmaster homeworld, I guess, if it's not Cybertron. Check that out. Very, very cool. Give it a follow. And there you have it. So very, very cool. Thank you to everybody for bringing that to my attention. Finally, big shout out goes out to Ashley Mustang 18. Lol, I think it's funny how my power went out and the only light that happened to pop up was your notification. Well, that means a lot to me. He sent TMCU tweets, "You are my favorite YouTuber and made my Transformers lifestyle stronger and bigger. Thanks and keep going on." Thank you so much for that compliment. That is really, really thoughtful and meaningful to me, because when I read comments like this, you know, not only is it a compliment, but it's like fuel and energy for me to keep on going. It shows me that you really enjoy what I do, and just talking about these movies, and it's essentially making me realize that this is an avenue for us all to talk about Transformers films. Like, that's what it is. I've created an avenue for guys to discuss this, and I'm going to keep on paving the way for all of you guys to really express your enthusiasm, whether it be through YouTube comments or Facebook comments or tweeting at me. Either way, I want to pave this way for you guys because I enjoy it, and I want you guys to come along with me on the ride to, you know, these films. So thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. And I would like to give the comment of the day to Advar Olav Strand, where he said, "I hope Megatron kills the creator. Like if you agree." He's got 342 likes, and that idea is completely ridiculous, but wouldn't that be an awesome plot twist? Anyways, thanks so much, Advar Olav Strand, for commenting that. That was a pretty creative idea. It's crazy and insane, but still very, very creative. Anyways, that's all I gotta say in this episode. I didn't want to get you guys' hopes up for the 14 films, but what I do want to ask you guys is, what kind of spin-off story would you like to see? I think there are a lot of great ideas out there. After all, the Transformers universe as a whole is so vast, so therefore it can go in any direction. But I would like to know, what do you guys think of what could be a really cool Transformers spin-off film? For me, I'll tell you what I want to see. They're showing us Transformers in medieval times with Transformers Last Night. I would like to see Transformers in an earlier time period in the 1900s. I mean, maybe even just like 1960s, 1970s, where Transformers and Cybertronians would have to adopt 1960s vehicles and aircraft. Wouldn't that be cool? I would love to see that. It would just be like, it would just be something very, very different. And, or you know what, maybe they should just go back to World War II, expand upon World War II, where we can actually see Transformers characters as military vehicles, Autobots being the British and the Americans, and then the Decepticons being the Germans. And that would be really sweet. Maybe that would be an opportunity for us to finally see Combaticons done properly. So that would be really, really cool. Anyways, that's all I got to say in this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There are more episodes to come. And there you have it. As always, if you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name's Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.
And, whoa. They showed a lot of stuff. They didn't show, like a lot of robot action.